The Continental episode 2, a bit of a review recap on this one. What did I think of it? Compared to episode 1, it was much slower. I'm moving my chess pieces into position before the final battle in episode 3. So I didn't mind the slower pace. We got to see a little bit more story. Dialogue was good. Everything was believable except 2 little bits, and I'll talk about those. The basic recap is we know that Winston's brother perished at the end of episode 1 and he was cremated early, which upset his wife Yen, and she decided she was going to leave or whatnot, but in the end she's basically come back. I think she wants vengeance on the death of her husband or something. Now, yes, the MacGuffin, which is a coin press, is still in play as a driving force for motivating the different characters. Now, as I've said in previous videos to do with movies, when the camera or there's something that's mundane and not necessary, such as in the Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum's daughter says he missed her gymnastics, and then at the end of the movie we see her swinging around on a pole. So we don't question that suddenly she can swing around on a pole, because at the start of the movie she said she could do gymnastics, so we believe it. Now, it could be something that is said, it could be something the camera focuses on that's mundane and doesn't seem important. Now, in this case, in episode 1, when they were fleeing the old cinema or whatever it was, the camera showed during Yen collecting her belongings that she went and gathered up a yellow flower that was growing in an old fruit tin. Now, we'd seen no mention of this beforehand. We've seen no mention of it after, such as in a flashback, like she might have been given the flower or something. So it seems a very strange thing to focus the camera on. Therefore, I deduce that the MacGuffin, the coin press, is actually in that tin where the flower is growing, because it seems to have gone missing. And that's the only place that it could be that we've been shown that's a mundane place, and we've never had another look at it. We don't know where that flower tin is at the moment. We saw her gather it, and where it's gone from there we don't know. So that's where the coin press is, in my opinion. Okay, Winston, we got to see him start to negotiate with the leader of the homeless people, who of course in the John Wick movie, they are devastating in their own right, and the Continental doesn't really bother them. Now, in this prequel, if he has an accord with them in some way, shape or form, well, that will make sense later on in the John Wick universe why Winston doesn't really bother with those people, because he forms an accord with them and everything's hunky-dory. So that will be an interesting thing. Now, she didn't want any payment from money, but what she wanted was a story. She wanted to know something about his life. Now, whether that means she has a hold on him or something, but it seemed a very strange thing to request, and possibly that might come to light a little bit later on in the final episode of the show. But all the chess pieces are moving into play. Yen, of course, kicked butt again, the 100-pound woman kicking butt, and again it was believable because she took the guys by surprise and she used weapons to take them out. So yes, totally believable. The 2 things that I found not believable was a black woman who owns a karate dojo in Chinatown. I didn't question that particular quirk, but what I questioned was her fight with the new Chinese mafia's bosses, stooges, his men. Well, she fought them, but of course, she's the daughter of some karate expert, so she knows karate. So I didn't question her karate moves and things that she did. They were all quite fine for me. My questioning was that while watching her fight, some of the close-up scenes, especially with her blocking punches and things, it looked like more so that she was doing a kata, possibly in front of a green screen or something, and maybe they threw the other guys in later or just whatever. I just didn't buy that these guys were throwing fully fledged power punches at her and she was just doing a little karate block and blocking that full power punch. It didn't come across as a genuine block of a full force punch to me. Now, of course, to stop the guys rushing her, they had her standing on the back of a pickup tray, which meant they would have to climb up first to get her. So in that sense, they foiled that 5 guys rushing her from each side potential aspect. So that was fine. I did like that. Okay, so we also had, but the unbelievable blocking, that just didn't really buy it for me. We had Mel Gibson losing his shit against the guy that was there to play the cello. And of course, that cello guy tried to convince Sharon, the black guy that we see teamed up with Winston in the other movies, to abandon the Continental. Now, I guess Mel Gibson must have found out about this in one way, shape or form, because he went ape on the guy and hit him with a golf putter and basically caved his skull in. So that's the end of him. Now, Winston did try to recruit Sharon to his side. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky twist I think I see coming, and that was when they got back, when Sharon went back to the Continental, he told Mel Gibson that Winston had tried to recruit him. And Mel Gibson's like, well, what's your take on that sort of thing? And he's like, I saw it as a good career advancement opportunity, remaining loyal, letting you know, all that sort of a thing. And I immediately thought, who are you being loyal to? Are you being loyal to the Continental? Are you being loyal to your father because your father's wishes and you wanted to bring your father to America? And while Mel Gibson did say he would do that, he had not done it up until that point. Were you saying that by telling Mel Gibson you hoped it would advance your position within the Continental under Mel Gibson? But then the adjudicators had come and told Mel Gibson he had 3 days, and unless he solved the issue, everyone under him would be taken out. Now, I couldn't see that including Sharon, because Sharon isn't one of the guys who goes looking for things. He's one of the people that keeps the hotel running. So in that case, his loyalty or a career advancement could be to align with Winston. It was never really specifically said that I can recall who he wanted to be totally loyal to and get his career advancement through. So I thought that was a little bit of a really good, clever dialogue. Now, the thing that possibly bothered me the most as unrealistic was the 2 people that I mentioned that were having sex, both police officers. The guy's married with kids, the woman is single. Now, she came to his house. Now, I don't have a problem with police officers knowing where each other live or even knowing each other's family. It's something that's likely to happen to police officers, especially detectives. They know each other, hang around each other, and so on. The thing that I found unrealistic was that when the male opened the door, his wife and kids were just on the other side of the door playing a game. And he tells the single woman that he's having sex with, she smells good, and he's acting all like frisky and amorous and wants to feel her up and things. And I'm just thinking, dude, your wife's just on the other side of the door and your kids. If the situation was real, I don't believe that's the sort of behavior you would be really exhibiting. You might exhibit that behavior behind closed doors with the single woman, but not while your wife and kids are on the other side of the door. You wouldn't really be doing that. So in that case, I think it was a fail. However, and when I say fail, I mean not behaving realistically in that situation. However, I then have to acknowledge that that was what the director wanted, and that's what the story called for, because they wrote it that way, which means they wanted him to do that, and they wanted him to behave that way for some reason, and potentially to show us that he was an extra sleazeball, and so we won't mind too much when he dies later on. Now, of course, we did see him break into the female detective's woman, found an empty biscuit tin or cookie tin in her oven, and when he opened it, something shiny inside was reflecting in his face. So we don't know what that particular shiny thing is. For all we know, it's a whole series of gold coins from the Continental. Like, we don't know. It just throws in an extra puzzle, and literally it's a mystery box, J.J. Abrams style. And there we have, all the chess pieces are ready to be played for the final episode, which is episode 3. Now, let me know what you think of it, if you've seen it, or if you think it sounds good. Just drop a comment down below. Thanks.